And food is one of the things actually that helped me in many ways. And I started using muscle testing to test good foods or bad foods. Like, does my body need apples right now? Or does my body need yogurt right now? And so I formulated a program where I tested what foods his patients needed to get well.
Welcome to the My Future Business Show, where we get you in front of your best audience and keep you there. Not only are we interviewing the biggest names in business to help you become even more successful, we're inviting you to book your spot on the show to help you grow your business. So at the end of the call, make sure you fill in the interview application form at myfuturebusiness.com/interviews. Hi and welcome back to the My Future Business Show. My name's Rick Nusky. I have to say I'm the luckiest person alive. I get to talk with some amazing people about some amazing topics, book authors, business owners, entrepreneurs, technology specialists, and the list goes on and on. If it weren't for you, weren't for our guests, this show wouldn't be happening. So from the bottom of my heart, thank you so much for supporting the show. And with that, I have Lana Nelson with me. How are you, Lana?
I'm fabulous and so glad to be here with you today, Rick.
Yes, glad to have you with us too. I can see your wonderful face there. I'm looking behind you there. I've got "Let's do sunset." That's, it just caught my eye then. So you're looking wonderfully well now. Given I say that for a reason because you have a pretty serious backstory.
I do have a backstory, and I'd be happy to tell you about that if you like.
Absolutely, I'd love to hear it.
Okay. Well, actually, I'll back up to, let's see. I grew up in a small town
Yes.
in Montana. I loved horseback riding. I was outdoors all the time and, everything that you can do in Montana. Lots of fishing. I'm an avid fisherman.
Right.
And I love the water and so on. I got married, and at a very young age, I had 6 children.
Mm-hmm.
And my former spouse owned a dental lab, and so I was working mostly as an at-home mom, but doing delivery for our dental lab. And as I was going on a delivery one morning, and this was in my early 30s, or maybe not that old even, but anyway, right on the cusp there of late 20s, early 30s, but I was delivering a set of dentures early morning, and in my small delivery car, there was an accident ahead of me. I slowed down a bit, and boom, a semi-truck crushed into the back of me,
Oh, wow.
which sent me on a 10-year journey to get out of pain. I ended up with an ambulance ride to the hospital. The impact had just wrinkled the top of my car. So that was a pretty hard impact.
Yeah.
And for the next 10 years, I suffered with chronic headache pain, pain from the bottom of my feet to the top of my head. My neck was pretty much frozen. And anyway, suffered with a lot of pain. I ended up becoming a single mom.
Mm-hmm.
And so during this 10 years of searching for how to get out of pain, one of my neurologists said, "I think you should see a chiropractor." And so I thought, oh, I remember my mom going to a chiropractor when I was a little girl. And I had been searching for what in the world. Medications didn't work for me. They just made me drowsy and so on.
Yeah.
And so I went to a chiropractor, and I did receive some help. I started going to a chiropractor, doing massage, and I thought, I'm really going to go the natural route. Now, this was in, mid-'80s, okay?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And back then, what energy medicine, so to speak, is becoming really open these days. Back then, massage was pretty weird, okay? It was kind of strange to go to a massage therapist. Massage was just coming in. Yoga was very weird in those days, and juicing was unheard of,
Oh,
okay?
yes. They're all mainstream nowadays, aren't they?
They are, and embraced. So that's what's very cool about living in this day and age. And anyway, I tried massage, I tried chiropractic, and I started looking for anything healthy. So I tried green juice. Here's what you don't ever want to do, Rick, is you don't want to juice a full head of cabbage with garlic. Get a big, huge glass of it.
Uh,
I bar- Are you see what's happening here?
I can taste it already.
Okay. Well, I read a book that said cabbage juice was one of the best things for muscles and pain and so on. So I thought, well, if a little is good, I'll just juice the whole head. And I did. Knocked it back straight away because, it's not the tastiest. Don't ever do that because it likes to come back up fast. So anyway.
Oh, wow.
So I tried other crazy things at the time. Now juicing is mainstream, okay, and cabbage juice is something, but mix it with something else. Anyway, so then I was talking with a girlfriend one day,
Mhm.
and I said, I really should marry a chiropractor. I'm seeing one 3 times a week. And we just laughed, ha ha ha, that's so funny. Well, what you put out into the universe,
It comes
you've heard
back, yes.
you've heard about that. So I met on a blind date. I had had a few dates as a single mom, but it's like I'm way too busy, and I was very happy being happily single.
Uh-huh.
And I met this person on a blind date. Unbeknownst to us, he had mutual friends that had been trying to get us. We both had mutual friends and family members that were trying to get us together for 5 solid years.
Wow.
And then we met on a blind date from someone else, another friend. Fast forward that to about 2 weeks after I met him, he actually did, he worked with what was called then, he worked with energy medicine, he worked with fibromyalgia and chronic fatigue, and I had been diagnosed with fibromyalgia,
Mhm.
which, if you've read anything about that, is incurable.
Right.
And so just learn to manage the pain. Well, I was trying to do that with all sorts of crazy, what not crazy now, but crazy then.
Yep.
I was trying to do that. But 2 weeks after he worked with me, I was totally out of pain. I had full range of motion in my head and neck, and I didn't have headaches anymore. We married about a year later, and we just celebrated our 25th wedding anniversary in
Oh,
October.
wow. Congratulations.
Thank you. So not only did he heal my heart, but he healed my body, but he healed my heart as well. He adopted my 6 children, and we combined 2 families. He had 6 and I had 6. So
Oh,
there's
that's
a really cool backstory there as
yeah,
well.
absolutely. I mean, that's a sizable group. My wife comes from a large family background, so we know what it's like to have a busy, on the go type of family environment. It must be wonderful.
It is amazing. It really is. And there's actually another good book behind this because our family, our children get together. When my husband Bruce adopted my children, the it just was almost like DNA took a change, okay? Because
Yeah.
these kids totally love each other, and anyway, we
The,
have a lovely, lovely family.
the dynamics are there and it's working wonderfully well for you. I'd just love to now, if we could now start talking about your authorship and how it came to be that you found yourself writing this wonderful book.
Well, that segues right directly into the book. My history just segues right in. After Dr. Bruce Nelson is
Hmm.
who I married. After Dr. Nelson and I married, I kept my dental lab practice for about 6 years, but I started it was so interesting seeing what he did in his practice, working with patients. And he had patients with, you name it, different types of diseases, illnesses, and sickness come from all over from United States and Canada and other countries.
Hmm.
And so in this period of time, I learned some of the methods, and I just was seeking to help other people. So I started working with him in the business. And as he was working with very ill people, he taught me how to use muscle testing. Rick, are you familiar at all with muscle testing?
Only that I've now just heard of it.
Okay, all right. This is very interesting. You're going to love it then. Muscle testing it's also called kinesiology or applied kinesiology, and it accesses your inner knower much like a lie detector test does. So when your body is hooked up to a lie detector test, it acts as a stimulus between a truth or a false.
Right.
So if your body is telling the truth, the lie detector test remains pretty calm and still. When your body tells an untruth or a lie, you can tell it by on your skin. You can tell it by a muscle, by the strength of a muscle. Your muscles cannot remain strong if you're testing a certain muscle in the body, and that can be called muscle testing.
Huh.
So one of the ways that my husband used to test or find what was going on with his patients was by asking, do you have a bone in your neck out of place or something like that? And via muscle testing, so testing like, let's say, pushing down on their arm. So first, if you say, my name is Rick,
Hmm.
and you did that or someone did that to you, your arm and your muscle would stay strong. If you said my name was Brian, boom, you could not hold your arm up.
Really?
Okay? And I tell all about this in my book. And I actually in my book I give you easy instructions on how you can do this yourself. So your body cannot tell a lie. You're attached to your inner knower, that subconscious mind is where all the answers are. Okay,
Yep.
you've heard of the subconscious mind, meditation, and connecting to that. Well, muscle testing can help you instantly connect to your inner knower. So, with working with my husband and him teaching me to muscle test, he would test the nutrition that the patient needed, and do you need vitamin, say let's B12, and do you need a certain brand or whatever, and it was a yes or a no question. So as he's working with people, and I decided, food is one of the things actually that helped me in many ways, and I started using muscle testing to test good foods or bad foods. Like, does my body need apples right now? Or does my body need yogurt right now? And so I formulated a program where I tested what foods his patients needed to get well. Does that make sense, Rick?
Absolutely. That's wonderful. I just love the idea.
Okay, so that's what I did. And over the years of using muscle testing, and people kept saying, you need to write a book about this. You need to write a book about this. And so I actually did. First of all, if you want the long version or the short
Oh,
version,
look, we've got plenty of time. Please share.
okay, all righty, I'd love to. Well, what I first wrote a book and never to be published, because here's what happened. I thought, okay, here's what I'm going to do. I had done years of testing of the patients good foods and bad foods. So I took many, many patients, and I took the best foods from their food lists. And these were high energy, good for you type of foods. So I made a list of the highest foods, and I made a list of the lowest foods. What most of their bodies had said, stay away from these foods or eat these foods, eat these other foods, the good foods to get healthy.
Yep.
So I formulated the list and then put it to work. My husband and I ate this diet for about 3 months as I was writing the book. And I used it on some of our clients as well and family members. Well, in this 2 to 3 months that I was using this, my husband's health really soared. His body loved it. I started losing energy. I didn't know what was going on with me. I just was using that really good food plan. And there's some of the top foods that you hear about today and some of them not. But I got sicker and sicker. I finally realized that these were not my best foods because
Ah,
up until that point, I had tested my own best foods plan and been using that. And so I just thought, this can't happen. I cannot put this diet out because it's a diet, if you will.
Yep.
It's just like any other thing that has been called a diet. It will help some people and it will not help
Help
other
others.
people.
Yeah.
Some people, does that make sense, Rick?
Absolutely. Mm.
So there, I thought, oh goodness, what am I going to do now? I thought I have got to teach individuals how to do this themselves. So that literally is what my book is about. It tells a little bit about my story and then the food codes. I called it the food codes because each food has its individual frequency. Just like radio frequencies that we have right now,
Yep.
so each food also has a vibrational energy frequency. Some high, some low, but each food has a frequency. So that's basically why I called it the food codes. And each food has their own DNA, which is very similar to human DNA.
Yeah, that's wonderful. Can I just ask a question?
You may, please do.
So this is really about, it's not a cookie cutter approach anymore. This is very much self-selection based on the food codes.
It is.
Right.
And I teach you how to use muscle testing very simply to test food groups. And I have in my book, um, I have a really nice food list that you can download to test your foods so you don't have to go, oh gosh, what are the lists of foods, but to test general foods. And then I explain a lot about really what are good foods, but ultimately my book is not so much about the food, but our relationship with food. What I realized, Rick, was that each of us has a relationship with food, and it is our first relationship. If you think about this, when a baby is being formulated in the womb, at that point of conception, the baby starts needing nutrients and nutrition.
Mm-hmm.
And the baby or fetus will take some of the mother's nutrition if she doesn't have enough or the right kind for the baby. So, and when the baby is born, the first thing a baby is placed to their mother's breast to suckle, if they're the lucky ones,
Yep.
okay,
Yep.
to get their perfect food. So with that and our relationship with food, think about this, Rick. We have lost, for the most of us in Western society, we've lost our relationship with food due to your grandmother, my grandmother, even before that, being told about diets and then to diet, and this is good for you or that is good for you. You should eat that. You should eat this. And a baby will spit out food if you put something in their mouth that they don't like
Mm-hmm.
or if they're not hungry. So as we grow up and being force-fed and things like that, being fed when we're not hungry and made to eat, we lose that relationship with food and when we're hungry and when we're not, when we're satiated. So we tend to eat more as well. Does that make sense, Rick?
Oh, absolutely. And it seems to me that there are a lot of external environmental factors as we do grow up. Society is much busier nowadays, and I think this would be a good guide for people to refer to.
And not only that, but I actually, through muscle testing, would you like a story about
Yes.
okay, one of my first, so as I was writing my book, I thought, do I know when I'm really full? And, we have 3 meals a day. We have snacks in between. This day and age, food is so readily available. So I did an experiment with myself. I got myself a nice cup of hot soup. I think it was chicken noodle. And I sat down. I really kind of sat down with myself and my intuition. And I was sipping or taking a bite of this soup with every bite. And I would say, am I full? And about, I don't know, towards the end of the cup of soup, and I was enjoying it, just thinking how it tasted. I
Yep.
loved the saltiness and so on. All of a sudden, I went to take another bite, and it was almost like a click and lock. My body said enough.
Enough.
It was very strong. And I look into my cup and I could see that there was still more there. Now, my outer knower was saying, I can just take the rest of that and eat it. And my inner knower said, no, you're done. You've
Yep.
had enough. So I actually got up and then I poured the rest of that soup out. Let me tell you, it was liberating.
Yeah.
It felt so liberating. I knew then I was full and I stopped.
Wow, it's about self-awareness too, isn't it? Not only understanding the codes and
Yes.
what's good food and what's bad food, but this idea of becoming more self-aware.
Yes, becoming friends again with food and very much aware, am I really hungry? And so this is very cool as well. And what a lot of people, how do you know when you're full and when you're not? With muscle testing, Rick, you can learn to access your inner knower, that subconscious mind, because you can overeat very easily, and we're used to overeating much. The portion sizes with
Oh
foods
yeah.
have grown. So as you're eating, you can take a few bites, slowly enjoying it, and you can actually test using the muscle testing techniques I show you and teach you. Am I full yet? How full am I on a scale of 1 to 10? How full am I? You know what I found? I found actually if I stop eating around 5 or 6 fullness, my body is so happy.
Yeah.
It's right where my satiety level is, because you get that feeling of fullness a little bit later on. And also if you're feeling like and so you can test how full am I, and you can stop actually, and you can learn that. So with the testing, it helps you to get that relationship back with food, to know when you're full. And then also you can say, well, it's dinner time right now, according to, the clock. And am I really hungry to eat right now? Oftentimes it's no. So you can wait till you're hungry. And we've been groomed to have 3 meals a day.
Hmm.
Maybe some days you need to eat 5 times. Maybe you really need some extra nutrition, or your body's really hungry, and sometimes you need to eat less. Does that make sense?
Absolutely. Lana, this is I know the next question for our listeners is, where
Okay.
are they going to go to find this wonderful resource?
Go to it's pretty simple. The Food Codes, TheFoodCodes.com.
Well,
Thefoodcodes.com.
it is very simple indeed, and for everybody who's listening to the show today, whether it be directly via audio podcast or through YouTube or wherever else you may find it, look for the links back to Lana. Lana, it has been an absolute treat spending some time with you talking about this topic, and I'd love to have you back on the show one time again soon.
I would love that as well, Rick. Thank you so much.
Thanks for joining us today. If you enjoyed the call, then make sure to subscribe, leave a comment, share us with your friends, and book your spot on the show at myfuturebusiness.com/interviews. And if you're looking for solutions that will help grow your business, then visit myfuturebusiness.com/shop.